Hello, my name is Rick Boulay, and I'm the president of Killeen Educators Association and of Region 10 of the Texas State Teachers Association. I'd like to welcome you to our Killeen ISD School Board of Trustees Candidate Forum. I'm very pleased to be your moderator for today's discussion. Enshrined in the Constitution is one of the most important functions that we can perform: our ability to select the officials that make the decisions on how the district operates through our vote. It's through this process that we make our voices and wishes known as to how we wish the education of our children to ultimately proceed in Killeen ISD. The level of material support the district provides, the quality and condition of its facilities, the safety of its buses and equipment, how its educators and support professionals are compensated and treated in the workplace. All of these things and more are provided through the election of those serving on the Board of Trustees. We're here to have a conversation with those who are seeking positions on the board for places 6 and 7. Our goal is to learn more about their stances on positions that directly impact students and those who help make their education possible, how they think, and how they would approach the challenges that face KISD as we continue into the future. We encourage you to listen to their responses as many times as you need and give careful consideration to whom you wish to lead the district forward. Most of all, we highly encourage you to use your power to vote. A voice that remains silent is a voice that gives up control over its fate. We want you, the viewer, to know that the questions for tonight's conversation were selected in advance. All the questions will be put to all the candidates to answer so that you may make your own comparisons and draw your own conclusions. The Executive Board of Killeen Educators Association has not made any decisions regarding potential endorsements and will not make them prior to the conclusion and publishing of this forum in its entirety. One of the concerns that was iterated by Dr. Kraft throughout the past summer was trying to avoid staffing cuts and his concerns with COVID, beyond those that were made this past year just by attrition. Although we hope it's not ever going to be a concern, but if it is, what criterion would be first and foremost in terms of deciding a reduction in force for you, should that awful scenario ever come to pass? And Mr. Mills gets to start this one.
Okay, hopefully we don't get to that point, but it's kind of out of our hands. It's my understanding that right at 75% of our money comes from the state, so a lot of this is not within our control. As far as who do we decide to keep and who do we let go if it gets down to that point? I think there has to be several factors involved in that. One being longevity. I think, teachers that have been with the district longer should receive at least some degree of priority. I also think there has to be some type of evaluation system. I don't know exactly what that would look like for each position. But we have to make sure that we're keeping the best teachers and staff on hand, not just necessarily because you've been here the longest. So we've got to make sure that we're doing what's best for the kids by keeping those teachers that are performing the best. And so again, hopefully it's something that it doesn't come down to. It may be inevitable, unfortunately. And so again, we've got to figure out a way to prioritize and do what's best for the children and do what's best for the kids and their education. And it'll be a difficult discussion, but we'll do what's best for the kids.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Ms. Purser.
Well, I think it all gets back down to just the basic ratios. If the TEA guidelines or if the safety guidelines require us to have a 51 ratio, a 200-to-1 ratio, whatever that qualification is for that department or that staffing position, I think that's what we're going to have to really look at and just make sure that we're meeting the guidelines. We'd have to have communications with, again, even local and comparable school districts, local school districts, because we want to know what's happening in our sister cities, sister districts, but then also comparable school districts with the same size of campuses. You can't compare you know, a 2,600 student campus with a 6,000 student campus at the high school level. We really need to make sure that we're comparing district to district that are more comparable to us. So I think we're just going to kind of have to map that out. Once we look at that criteria, I think then the boards, whoever that board is, will really make the best decision for the staff to make sure that they're safe and can do their job, and then also the students to make sure they're getting the services and the safety they deserve as well.
Thank you, Ms. Purser. Ms. Carter.
Well, I think that, you know, there needs to be a uniform policy set in place of who are we going to replace and who are we going to keep. I don't think it should just be, hey, we're going to let the administrators on campus decide who we're going to keep, because sometimes that can be unbiased and favoritism comes into place. So there has to be a uniform system of way of dealing with that. You know, we want to go ahead and hopefully keep our senior teachers. So hopefully seniority does come into place as well. But a big thing is that, like I said, the goal is to preserve our teachers, because you don't have a school without teachers, obviously. But I think that, you know, we need to look at, if we're looking at cutting positions, then we need to look at cutting some administrative positions, especially positions that have been created basically within the last couple of years. I think we need to think about doing some cross training where, you know, you might have been hired for this position, but you're doing more than one position. You know, basically when, you know, we're going through tough times. And if you want to keep a job, you've got to be flexible and willing to do more than one thing. So I think that that's a big issue. You know, it may be even our administrators that are making a huge salary, they may have to, if they want to stay in that position, they may have to take a pay cut. That's just the way it is in the civilian world. If you want, even a new company comes on and you want to work for that new company, you're going to take a pay cut. I mean, those are some hard decisions that we have to make, but that's basically, you know, if people want to keep a job right now, then they have to be willing to do that. But again, our main mission again is to educate the students. So education has to come first, and we need to preserve those teaching positions, those paraprofessional positions, to make sure that our students are still getting the quality education that they're used to. So that's what's really important, making sure we're not cutting too much. That's basically all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Adams.
Thanks. You know, I didn't mention in my intro, so I've had to deal with this at the federal level about 4 times when we've had reduction in forces, and that's both active duty and civilian. And it's a hard thing to have to tell someone that they might not have a job. But in just taking some of the best practices I've learned and having to be a part of that process, or even having to make that decision, I would first look at, I got to look at my administration, how heavy or top heavy it is, because all of that, if it's the things that do not directly affect the mission, and I apologize and I'm using a military term, but KISD still has a mission. If it does not affect the teaching of the child, those are the first things we review. And then we start looking, if we still haven't met the intent, because we, just like the others have said, we still got to follow regulatory guidance. And then we look at how, and I agree, we look at how other districts are doing things. But then we create, now we still haven't gotten there. We create some type of package where either we offer early outs, if we're allowed to do that. We offer pay cuts or something, but it's all based off of, first, we cut the additional spending first, unnecessary, and then we start going towards where the rubber meets the road with the teachers and the school staff.